People say I talk about some weird stuff, some far-out stuff. But how about that chair that you're sitting in isn't solid? How weird is that? This reality is nothing like we think it is.
When I saw what Icke is doing, like, I was a bit jealous on him. Like, wow, look at what this guy's doing.
I don't know if anybody else could do it but him, actually.
We are in a period now where speaking your truth is not just important, it's utterly crucial to where humanity goes from here. The world needs renegades, and it needs them now.
How'd you guys like it?
We'd also invite Ivan Bernard to come up and join the stage as well.
Thanks, mate.
Right, so we're going to do a Q&A now. So we've got 60 minutes, so for David that might be one question. So I think he's matching Ivan actually in terms of talking, so we'll see. So yeah, open up the floor. Yep, go ahead. Yeah,
David, who do you think you've seen the most resistance from in terms of your ideas, and why do you think that is?
Well, that is a fantastic question. You didn't want to answer a question, did you, mate? No. Okay. So for the next hour, I'm going to answer that question. No, it's a very interesting question, and it's a very simple answer. The very people you would think would be more open to the fact that the world is being manipulated by a super rich hidden hand are the ones that are least resistant, are most resistant to it. And I'm talking about something that has hijacked what I grew up with in what's called in politics the political left, the traditional political left, and it's called today progressive. And I call them Soros progressives, because that tens of billions of dollars through the Open Society Foundations, plus a lot more of George Soros, has gone into funding so-called progressive groups that used to be called left-of-centre groups, and they have completely transformed that mindset. I remember in the 60s, students at places like Berkeley University in America and elsewhere going on mass marches demanding freedom of speech. And now they go on protest demanding it's taken away. It is an extraordinary transformation that has allowed the traditional left to be hijacked by this progressive mentality, which is anything but liberal. The very opposite of liberal. Liberal is about freedom of lifestyle, freedom of speech, freedom of thought, freedom of expression. And what this fake liberal progressive mindset is about is deleting all those things. So they are the most resistant. Protests here, just a few tonight, but those that are trying to get my meeting stopped are coming from the so-called progressive left. I'll tell you a story, and I'd say a great thanks to this venue, because we were coming down from Manchester yesterday on the train from the other premiere, and about an hour or so out of Euston, Jamie got a contact from the venue we were at, that is owned by the Trade Union Congress, the TUC, and telling him that they were cancelling. They were cancelling because they believed in inclusivity, so they were going to exclude me. This is the almost mental illness that has taken over the mind of what used to be called the left and has been sucked in to this, this fascistic, Stalinistic Marxist way of looking at the world. And so, we have a situation where the colleges, starting in America, the schools and the colleges, and now sweeping across the rest of the Western world, have been hijacked by these Soros progressives. The academics daren't not be articulating this and supporting it because they'll lose their job if they do. And so the whole of this education system has been taken over by this progressive mindset. And it's turning out young people, and this is what, you know, when you see young people who've been through this process and sussed it, I mean, that is a seriously impressive person who's actually been through this mega programming and not bought it. There's a fantastic number of young people who haven't, but there's a very large number who have. And they are the people that say, if you don't agree with me, you must be silenced. And you look at any tyranny, whatever name they give to it, communistic or fascistic, whenever they get control, they want to censor all information that they do not want people to hear. And here we have, in this massive inversion, funded overwhelmingly by Soros money, this mindset called progressive, which now seeks to silence anyone that says anything that it doesn't agree with, while at the same time, just like the TUC, claiming to be anti-fascist. It's extraordinary, the scale of the program that allows that thought process to happen and for people to think it makes sense. So yet they are absolutely the ones that are most resistant to it. They're being played like a stringed instrument and they think they're free. And it's sad, really sad. And how ironic, who would have thought that in the 1960s, that the left in politics would be those seeking to act like the far right has always acted in terms of tyranny. But we have to live with it. We have to live with it. And the genius that is the organisation genius, which is Jamie. Yesterday we were on the train. They told us not long out of Houston that they were just pulling, which means the TUC has total contempt for you, because it didn't care what the effect is on you, just like the people outside don't. And by the time he got to Houston, he got another venue. But this is what we have to do. This is what we have to do. You hum it, son, and we'll play it. You put the block in place and we'll find a way around it. And it's going to get more and more extreme, because we have now reached the point where the nutter is starting to be looked at in a different way by increasingly large numbers of people around the world. And they're seeing through the veil, they're seeing through the smoke screens and the bullshit. And as a result of that, they're getting very, very worried about the fact that the program is no longer in large numbers of people having the effect it had before. And so what's their only thing they can do? Try to silence that, which is deleting the program. And that's why it's getting harder. And the people out there will have no idea that that's what they're doing. Just pawns in a game they don't understand.
That was only 7 minutes.
Thank you.
Quick question, your influences, I have 2 young children, what were your parents like with you?
Well, my parents were working class. We had no money, we used to hide from the rent man, literally. I remember when I was a kid, my brother used to grab me and say, take, and we used to dive behind the sofa. I never knew what was going on for a while. And then I realised that what was happening is the red man, council house, was knocking on the door. If no one answered, he would look through the bloody window. So we were hiding. So it was that kind of background. But my father was always a kind of a rebel in a way. He was anti-establishment. and always questioned authority. And so I kind of got that stuff from a very, very early age. But in the end, you know, you come to your own conclusions. You know, the way my father saw the world, and the way I see the world now, is not totally different, but it's very different. And there comes a point in your life where your upbringing is no longer an excuse. Or I was brought up like this, and therefore this is how I am. You don't have to be. You know, when you start to come into adulthood, you can take control of your own life and leave behind any influences that went before. But my influences were overwhelmingly good. My father was someone who questioned authority, and so I was brought up in that atmosphere. And my mother, she is the kind of person you wanted in the trench when the bullets started. She's always there, stuck with you, and never let you down. So I was very lucky like that. And like I say, I was brought up in a childhood where we had no money. We were skint. I mean, really skint. I remember going around the back of the factory on a Thursday afternoon with my mother at lunchtime to get that week's pay packet so we could eat that night. But I don't look about that, oh, I'm a victim. I am. I'm a victim. I was ever so poor. You should feel sorry for me. I had a bloody great childhood because I didn't have all this stuff. I didn't have all the social media pressure, which is basically pressure on, you know, like I said in the film, fear of what other people think. The fear of what other people think or what other people say is destroying so many young people through social media. And I say to the kids, you know, define yourself. Don't let others define you. Don't let some anonymous login or some friend of yours, allegedly from school, define you by what they say you should be or what they say you are not. We are all part of one infinite consciousness, yes, but we are all unique expressions of it, which is why uniqueness needs to be celebrated and not to be scorned, which is what the progressive mentality is trying to do. It's trying to make everyone the same. And, you know, it's so important. I say to young people, you know, define yourself. Celebrate your uniqueness. You don't have to be like everyone else. And it's the last thing you should want to be, because we are all unique. Live it, celebrate it, and express it. And if other people don't like it, well, they can do the other thing. That's fair enough. But they have... that is another way of putting it. I must say I do have sympathy with it.
You jump in a question for either?
Oh.
Question.
Yeah, go on, in the back. Yeah, go on.
David, if you could have one question answered definitively about the whole of everything, what would it be?
Oh.
Rivals is a great question. Rivals are going.
The nature of reality beyond where we are now, I think that's what I would like answered. But then again, the reality beyond where we are now is infinite, therefore it has infinite possibility, therefore it's everything you could think of. But I would like to experience, while, if you like, consciously in a body, that other realm. I've experienced it through the ayahuasca experience and things like that, but I would like to get out there, not in a dream. I bloody dreams all the time, as tangible as this room is now, but I'd like to be able to get out there more into realms while in a conscious state, not in a dream state, and experience what is out there. Because, you know, but then again, I will eventually anyway, won't I? But not soon.
What solutions would you like to see from us, as in the people who are interested in your work? How can we be Renegades to support you in your work?
Well, this guy's done it in Croatia, so over to you, mate.
I became a renegade by coincidence. I was on a bus station And somebody, this book from David called like Human Race Rise Up from Ages, something like that, from Croatian. Somebody copied one page of it and put it on a bus stop. And I was waiting for a bus, and I look, and I read what's written, and it made sense. And as the time went on, as the new informations came, I began to fight the system. And the most, and we didn't go to the parliament with the money. That's everybody asked, like, how much money did you need to enter the politics? Actually, zero. What I had was a knowledge that credits cannot be paid back on macro level, and on the other side, I needed people who were getting evicted. And those people, they didn't exist in the media. And by coincidence, once I found such family, and I said, do you want us to come to your house to block the eviction? They said, yeah, of course. And so our journey began. And because the violence is something, especially police brutality, it's very viral stuff. Media are crazy about it. I mean, even if media censor, people will see. So that's the way we started. So if you want to become a renegade, first thing you need to have is knowledge. Knowledge. What is the system and who makes the decisions? And I am known in Croatian parliament for speaking from the pulpit that it's not us who have the power. This parliament is a Muppet show and so on. And yeah, it's sad. It's sad. And people always ask me questions like, the questions are always logical. But I tell them, yeah, you're right actually. The system is wrong. And all the time politicians are defending the system. And I remember when kids used to come to parliament and they would have opportunity to ask MPs questions. And then they would speak, their questions would be like what David Icke speaks. And they would ask like, why is this shame? Why are we not learning in school what we need? Or why is the system like that, unjust and so on? And I would say it's because the system is corrupt. And other politicians, they would say, no, system is wrong, good, you have a wrong perception, and so on. And the truth is viral stuff. So if you speak truth, truth will get out. And but to say the truth, you need knowledge. So seek knowledge and ask yourself, you see the system, you see the pyramid of power, and you wonder, how can I challenge this pyramid? Or better said, what I as an individual can do to take down the ladders they stand on. Because in essence, this will sound crazy to you, but it's the 99% who keep those 1% in power. It's you. It's you. It's us. And if we remove our helping to this system will necessarily collapse and people will become awakened. Thank you.
There's just one thing I want Ivan to talk about, because it's very, very interesting about, and I've heard this from so many different groups, where you start to get somewhere challenging the system, and then the system comes in and tries to hijack you by offering you money and divert you off. And they say, well, we want to support you and we'll give you some money so long as you don't say this. And Ivan had a experience of that with the Freemasons, didn't you?
It sounds crazy when I speak about it, but just to give you a short notice, just today is an interview in our journal in Croatia that French Lodge of Orient had came to Croatia and they founded the first lodge there, but there are other lodges as well of different orders. But when I was nobody, so when I was, let's say, a person who just knew how the stuff goes, I didn't have any political influence, I didn't have 280 88,000 followers on Facebook and so on. I was asked by a friend, he told me, look, I have somebody who's willing to help us financially to succeed in politics. And I said, oh, that's a great stuff. We were short with cash. And I went to meet those guys, and he said, oh, they are Italians, by the way. And when I thought Italians, well, first thing I thought was that was some kind of a mafia, you know. But like, why would some Italian give me money? And I thought myself, well, these Freemasons, they're the true mafia, you know. Maybe, I mean, the whole system is criminal in its way. And I thought myself, well, these are micro-criminals, low-level thugs, you know. I can maybe give them some favors, and in return, I can subvert this whole system. And when I met them, they said, no, we are not mafia. We are Freemasons. And they said, you know, these were shocking words that this guy told me. He said, we have the power, and we give it to whomever we want to. And it reminded me on Gospel of Matthew, when devil confronted Jesus, and he says, I have all these kingdoms, and I can give it to you if you bow down to me. And this Mason said, we will give you 100,000 euros, space in the media, and some support if you will need it as well. And I said, what's the condition? What you want in return? And he said, well, we want you not to speak about process of money creation. And because that was the stuff that I was talking about all the time. I wrote, why? Because I thought that if other people would realize what I realized, tomorrow there would be a revolution. And I wrote 2 books on money. I explained everything, and I saw nobody reacts. But they reacted, they came to me, because they knew where it would go. I will tell you the secret of our success in a short, but I said to this guy, look, he said to me, you can speak about redistribution as much as you want, but the creation of money, no. And I said, look, there is one problem we have. I said, I also don't care about redistribution. And it's so funny when you hear a politician who is not fighting about will one person get a penny or a pound more or less, but instead questioning how the money is created. And I said, I'm thinking the same way like you, but I'm on the opposite side. Because I know that if I take over process of money creation, I can have as much money as I want. I'm the one printing money. And that was the way when the moment when we simply split. And up until that moment, he was very friendly to me. He was like, hey mate, what you gonna take for dinner? Or he was smiling and he said, my friend, I want to help you and so on. But at the moment when I declined this offer, the attitude changed totally. The tone became threatening, and he said, you don't know what you are going into, and what you are doing might have a huge price for you, and so on. But I was willing to take it. And just to tell you the secret of our success, in the books I explained that there is more debt than there is money, so the debt in theory cannot be paid off. But when I would speak about that, people would say, yeah, but what does it have to do with me, personally? And then I needed those people who had practical problem with the debt, people who cannot pay off credits. And when I found them, I had a theory, I had a practice. And I said to those people, look, it's not your fault. It's the system is set up on a way that it fails you. And that's the moment when people began to rise up.
The world needs renegades, and it needs them now.